The first speaker is Francis Alturas. He was a graduate of batch 2013. He was one of the first to have graced us in the engineering career during the launch of the official School of Engineering Facebook page. Currently, he is the co-founder and the chief digital officer of Abstract Digital, a digital product design agency. Abstract works with numerous seed stage startups, most notably from Rocket Internet, as well as other venture-backed players across Southeast Asia. With his talk today entitled Dear Engineering, Tiny Letters to Myself, as an engineering student, please welcome engineer Francis Alturas. France?
All right. Hello, guys. Thanks for having me here. So, I'm Francis. I'm a designer and I'm a developer. And throughout my career, I've been pretty grateful to have worked with these amazing brands. And currently, as mentioned, I built a company called Abstract Digital. And we've been traveling all around Southeast Asia designing digital products for venture-backed startups. And these are one of the things that we basically just do. Uh, we fly in, do some workshops, we build, design, and we code. So I'm also very passionate about the design community. Um, I've co-organized events like Dribble, Sketch meetups, Visual Graphic Design Conference, which was 2 years ago. And the most recently was the UXPH Roadshow, which was held in IT Park last year. And in my spare time, um, I actually enjoy sharing my knowledge by speaking in events, mentoring designers, doing workshops, or basically attending conferences as well and hanging out with different designers from different places. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And I think these are really trying times. I wish everyone for your safety and sanity. Since the pandemic, it's pretty hard for everyone. People are losing jobs, industries are getting disrupted, and to live through a time like this feels almost too surreal. Like I would probably say 2020 is a year we won't all forget. So, how did I end up with the title of my talk? So, I recently attended an online conference, UX conference, and there was a talk by Rani. She's a half Filipina, I guess, and she used to work for Facebook. And she wrote letters to herself regarding the UX practice. And I'm like, this is actually a good way to start my engineering talk. And I think it's very good because it forces you to have a retrospective of the journey I had from being a student to where I am right now, from being a failure to building an award-winning agency. And so I wrote three tiny letters to myself last night to help me look back and to do a reflection on the challenges and struggles I went through, like academically, emotionally, and mentally. Um, and I hope this could be useful for you as well. If I could go back in 2008, what advice would I give my 17-year-old self as a college student? So yeah, that's me, like 10 years ago. Um, so here's my talk. Dear engineering, tiny letters to myself as an engineering student. As a student, we're almost conditioned to see a finish line in everything that we do. A deadline for a project, the last question of an exam, the finish line of college through a graduation ceremony. But life doesn't stop there. Uh, I remember the feeling when my classmates graduated ahead and I got left behind. It felt like I was not going to make it in life. Like I was a failure. I let everyone down, my parents, my peers, myself. I try to, pretend like I'm okay, like try to shrug it off, but it's always there. And I realized something all these years, even when I'm working, learning never ends. How you evolve, how you progress, it never ends. There is no finish line. So, dear engineering students, I think you should know this earlier that you will always be a work in progress. So, those series of failures led me to doubt and compare myself with others. I like what they say, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's it's not really helpful because we unconsciously start to measure ourselves, how our lives fall short of what we see. This is very prevalent in social media, wherein we become depressed because our life isn't as exciting, adventurous, or glamorous compared to other people. And in effect, it erodes our self esteem or makes us feel unworthy of who we are and what we've become. So I would probably advise myself, like, don't compare someone's ending with your beginning. Um, Up to this point, the beginning of your stories has already been written. Still have a lot more years in front of you, and how it ends is entirely up to you. So don't feel worried if you're not on time. If there is even a perfect timing, um, everyone operates in their own time zone, and here like, I'm just showing a time like the standard time zones of the world. And if you look closely here, Japan is an hour ahead of Singapore, but that doesn't make Singapore any slower, right? So you're not early, you're not late. I think you're very much on time. And that's my first letter to myself. Um, the second letter that I want to address is after graduation. Um, when the dopamine rush from graduation and getting your first fades, paycheck fades, you'll start to feel this internal crisis. And I have observed this within people from their early 20s to their early 30s who ask me for career advice, which is why, as early as now, I would really recommend dear engineering students, try to find your purpose. When the honeymoon phase of getting your first job is over, like you're not really picky, you just want to get a job and that means everything. And you get real nervous if everyone's getting jobs already and you're still not hired. And eventually all of you get hired and you get pumped to work, show up, like you're in the industry, you made it, congratulations. But a few years after, it gets stale really fast. Like, how can your dream job quickly become a waking nightmare? Uh, if you show up every day doing the job you hate, the people who show up and love it are gonna outperform you every single day. It doesn't matter if you're smarter or if you work harder. And I'm speaking from family and friends I know. A lot of them are not happy. And that's why they live for the weekends. So if you look forwards to the weekends to escape from your everyday life, it's telling you something is wrong. So how do I do what I want to do in life? Well, it was easier in school because you're given a set of instructions of what to do, and all you need to do is to exactly do what you're being told to. And that's how we've been wired in for those past years. Uh, the funny thing is, though, life doesn't have a set of instructions either, and it goes either way, whatever way it wants to go. So how do I know what I want to do in life? I recently read a book, and it's a Japanese concept I've learned, and it's called Ikigai, which literally translates to a reason for being. Um, when you graduate, you'll have to make big decisions on what you want to do in your life. Uh, are you gonna do something you love? Are you gonna do something you're good at? Are you gonna do prioritize something that really pays well, or do you have more of a calling of doing what the world needs? And not this is actually very hard to achieve. Um, a lot of people end up doing what they love and they good at and what they're good at, which means they're passionate about that. A lot of people love what they're doing and it's actually what the world needs and they're on a mission to do things. And when you're getting paid for um, what you want to do and what the world needs, it's more of a vocation. Like you're working, but you're getting paid, and it's helpful for everyone. But it's not really filling you internally. And there are also instances where you're doing something that you're really good at, and you can be paid for, and it's called a profession. But some people feel like it's a bit empty because there's no sense of fulfillment in doing it, and not. And I would probably say I haven't reached this ikigai point yet. Um, Probably I'm in this state where I love what I do. I'm good at what I'm doing. I can be paid for, but I'm still struggling to find that alignment in giving what the world needs. So the goal is to have all of these um, main points uh, taken care of. So if there's anything you want to become of in life, you need to be more intentional of your decisions. You need to stop floating and coasting through life. Like don't wait to be invited. Like invite yourself. Always ask. All right, then probably some of you would say, but friends, I feel like I'm not ready yet. I need training. I need more time. I need more, you know what? There's always something that we need. Like before we do something, like um, feel much more confident. But if you truly, if there, if you truly love what you do, nothing would stop you from learning. You will acquire expertise by any means possible. Nothing would stop you from becoming a master of your craft. And if you haven't found it yet, start with the things you love doing. What gives you joy? The challenge is to turn your hobbies, interests, and talents into a long-term sustainable career. And this overlap here is your superpower. So yeah, um, that's the second letter I would probably advise to myself. Lastly, I think the last letter I'd like to send to my 17-year-old self will probably be the most important. And like this probably goes out for the freshmen here, but like every student choosing a degree fresh out of high school is pretty tough. I really didn't know what I want to be. Like I took up engineering because I saw this movie Iron Man, and I thought, I really want to build an Iron Man suit because it's cool. And then came a series of failures. Days when I felt like giving up. I realized like hardware engineering isn't my strong suit. Um, I'm good in some things, but I'm not good at other things, and I fail a lot, like literally a lot. So anxiety kicks in, and I felt like a fraud. Like sometimes I worry, will someone even hire me in the future? And we all have this figment of imagination in our mind of what could happen because we're not doing well because of the anxiety we have, especially we're in a pandemic. Everyone is having a hard time, and I think it's always good to look at the light at the end of the tunnel. So, dear engineering students, I need you to trust the process. It was during our Java classes when I first dabbled around UI elements from iOS 2. And this was during the time, I don't know, probably iPhone 3G or 3GS, not sure. And the funny thing is, I spent more time perfecting every pixel interaction in our Java project. I was super obsessed with replicating the iOS experience into Java that we basically recreated the iPhone experience on, on Java. And we got a perfect grade for that. And this was the start of my fascination for designing user interfaces. Um, I really enjoyed our web programming classes. Like, I would stay up 2 a.m. in the morning learning how to make my project look cooler, like while missing chemistry classes in the morning, which is really bad. But I'd be so excited to share with my professors, Engineer Madurazo, this stuff that I've learned or built, and go into like a rabbit hole of geek talking. And I was actually a bit. I always find ways to improve things. Like uh, we did some workshops in our laboratory. Um, I designed some collaterals for our laboratory as well. I used to be an intern at SEC and laboratories, which was very foundational to developing who I am right now. Um, and this one is probably the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. My thesis work was focused on improving the user experience of an existing product. And we probably had the best UI UX work ever done. And I never knew that this would lead me to where I am right now. So I guess it was like an epiphany to be fortunate to discover what I love to do early in my life. I know I like to design, I like to build something for the web. I was curious and I continued to learn and tinker. So yeah, I'm just gonna go full Steve Jobs in here, and I really like his message for the Stanford graduates. I think 2008, I guess. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Like, don't be trapped by dogma, which is the result of other people's thinking. Um, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you want to become. Everything else is secondary. No, not every one of you here when you graduate. This is just me giving you a real talk. Will become engineers. Some will pursue different things. Some are artists, some are cooks, some are entrepreneurs, some are makers, some are builders or dreamers. And that's okay. It's totally fine to change um, the direction of your trajectory. And don't let others' opinion invalidate your thoughts. It doesn't make you less of a person. This is your life. This is your journey, and you might as well take responsibility. So take control. When you graduate, your life is gonna fill a large part of your waking life, and I guess the only way to be satisfied in what you do and what you believe in is to do great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And if you haven't found it yet, don't settle. Keep looking. So you can only connect the dots looking backwards. Like, I didn't know my journey at Sim would fast forward in the future lead me to where I am right now. You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. Like, I didn't know my fascination for interfaces and college would lead me here. Um, Even if it leads you to the road less traveled, that would make all the difference. Um, it was a bit different during that time. Startups weren't prevalent. A lot of people are going corporate, and I took the risk of joining a very small company. We were a small company of 10, and it was weird. We didn't have budget clocks, we didn't even have uniforms, and it was a very different mindset and how people think would a company typically run. And fast forward to the future, that's almost like how every company would run in Silicon Valley. So you need to trust your intuition. You need to have confidence in what you want to do. That would make all the difference. And yeah, I hope these advices were helpful to you. Have a dream. And yeah, that's how I ended up from being a failure to building an award-winning agency in Cebu. So yeah, thank you everyone. I hope those advices were helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Franz. I thought that was, I think, a very profound presentation. Yeah, the way you package your presentation is through letters yourself. Letters to yourself sent back to yourself when you were in college. These letters, I can relate, and these are the kind of the many moments in our professional life as we look back, and I had also those kind of moments up until now. So for the students to know, it's just part of navigating only our professional life, but life itself, I believe. So thank you very much, friends, again. At this point, students can now ask their questions to Francis. I have Ma'am Linda here, chair of the computer engineering department, to help me with the questions. So I'm just gonna throw the first questions, Ma'am Lins, while you're collating the questions if you have. So Franz, if the question would, I'm wondering if how can one be ready, do you think, to start what you've started, like abstract? How can one be ready for that?
Right, that's actually a very good question.
Yes.
Right. Let me gather my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be answer. We can just, maybe you can just walk us through on your decision process on really finally telling yourself, oh, let's start abstract, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I actually worked at Sim for like 5 years, more than 5 years actually. I started there from not knowing anything at all. I can't even code like how they code. I can't even design like how they design. And it was a struggle. Like I would literally spend a lot of hours learning, spending more time in the office. And until eventually I learned to how to operate within the organization and eventually the company. I mean, the design arm of the company. And it was around after 5-6 years, then I realized I want to do something else. I always had this dream when I was in college that someday I'm going to build a design agency. And so I thought to myself, should I build it now? I was thinking, maybe I should like maybe work abroad so like I become more legit. Like I feel like I have all the necessary qualifications to do what I want to do. Or maybe I should probably go to business class. Like I have no idea. So I realized there is no time. There is no exact conditions for you to be ready. You just need to make sure you have the necessary parachute in case you fail. Do not jump with both of your feet. Like don't dive in right away. Otherwise, that would be super risky. I would recommend everyone to always take calculated risks and weigh in your options. So yeah, there is no perfect timing. There is only the doing part, and it never ends. It's the infinite game.
Or yeah, so I believe that too. There's no perfect timing. You just have to start
It's
Yeah, there's only the doing. Yeah.
yeah.
So okay, so we have Josel from the US, also one of our speakers. He will ask you something.
All
Good
right, go
Josel?
afternoon,
ahead.
Idol. Good afternoon, Idol. So from time to time, I always thought of like, I know there's like a lot of things to like really consider when you start a business, right? And especially when you're already in it. But in your opinion, what's like kind of like the biggest like pain in the head when you own a business, and like what's kind of like the mindset that you set to yourself, or you tell yourself every morning to kind of like just overcome it.
All right. I have a lot to say, but probably I always have this question, and I would always jokingly say that you know the bills they inspire me enough to wake up in the morning. You have a lot of overhead. You gotta pay rent. You gotta make it both ends. Either you have to make it like
So you put it next
hook
to your
by
pillow.
crook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
but
think that's
yeah.
a good thing because when you started, when you start and you and the bills keep flowing, that's one of the things that that you can actually think that I have to wake up.
Yeah, but jokingly, that would be my first answer. But seriously, on building a business, there are two main things that you need to have, and this applies even in building startups. First, you need someone who can actually sell and market well, and secondly, you need someone who can actually make or build the product, and this applies for startups as well. And this is very common in a lot of startups we work with. It's usually partnered by two co-founders. There's usually one who is the uh, more inclined into closing deals, pushing the, making sure the ship doesn't sink, who's very in charge of your financials, making sure you're
Mm.
afloat. And the other one who is actually much more focused on operations to make sure that you promise the things that you've delivered. Basically, the maker. So those are the two main components that you actually need to run a business or build a product. Both of these things are super important.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be one person.
I think, in my opinion,
The faster if it's one person, then the faster you can build it, right, or start. If you're both.
not necessarily because
So yeah, walk us through with that, friends.
yeah, not necessarily because it's not about who builds it fastest. It's actually finding finding the product market fit that you need for your
Yeah.
company. And the goal is to actually find that faster, not to build
Yes.
things fast. You can build a lot of things. You can build for the 20, a million things, and no one would want that.
Yeah.
The goal really is to find that product market fit between your customers and their needs. And as long when you figure that out, that's when you actually start to grow.
Yeah,
And
but when you graduate as an engineer, I think you don't have that background on the market segmentation or market analysis and things like
oh
this.
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
You don't have a course in that in the engineering
Yes.
curriculum. I don't know.
Yeah.
Presently.
My advice is for you to either have a really good mentor, focus on the early career or the early years of your life. Focus on actually looking for a mentor. This could be like your senior or co-founder of a small company, and learn the ropes. An alternative way for that, you do not need to do everything. That's why it's called a company. I would admittedly say I'm not the best salesperson out there. I can sell, but not as much as how my co-founder could sell. So build a team. Do not hire people who has redundancy in your organization. Look for people who complements your weaknesses and your strengths, and that's how you actually build a very strong culture.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, I think I have to close the Q&A in this session.
There
Thank you
is
very
actually
much.
one question
We have
from the
one
chat
way.
box.
Okay,
Yes,
we can
one question in the
accommodate
chat
that.
box.
Yeah.
Daphne Jen Haralva would like to ask, what is it like to work in abstract?
Oh, I think it feels a bit weird because I know I'm speaking from my perspective. 'Cause, um, um, I hired myself, basically hired myself. But if you ask me, I've never worked so much harder in my life. And that means waking up 2 a.m. from a client call because something is wrong. That means a project blows up. What do you do? You have to take responsibility. You have to go in. You need to unblock any blockers the team have. Um, Working in abstract is really cool. Basically, a lot of the company culture we have is what I derived from our previous company that I've worked with, which is a bit Silicon Valley-ish, wherein we focus more on the outcomes, on the quality of your work, quality of your code, and we don't, we don't really care who you are, where you're from, what you wear, as long as you're passionate about what you're doing. You want to change things. You want to change the world, and you want to continue pushing and growing yourself to become better. So yeah.
Yeah. Actually, when I started communicating with you for our SOEFB page, friends, I become an instant fan
That's
because
too
I'm engineer myself, and I learned that you are in UX, and I also do a little bit of artistic work, and maybe I will be a competitor someday, if I may put it that way.
I'll be glad to help you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So at this point, we are now presenting on screen the certificate of appreciation for you. Please accept our simple token of gratitude as a resource speaker of All Talks. This is signed by me yet, and by me, and the dean will sign it yet. So we will send it to you later. So we express many, many thanks for your time and your insights. You are indeed an inspiration, friends, actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an honor.